Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community. I'm here with my bestie, Maria.
Hey.
Maria and I are doing a number of batch recorded episodes today because my baby's on the way. So I know, like crazy.
By the time you're hearing this, he's out in the world.
Out in the world. Maybe he speaks Spanish by now. I don't know how far ahead we are. Maybe not that far ahead.
I can help in poquito with that.
I can help not at all with that. So that's perfect. But Maria and I are going to talk about something that, is something we actually execute in our own business as well. We encourage our clients to do. Not all of our clients do it because we don't think there's a place for everybody to have one of these. But we know that people love private communities, and we're seeing more and more, this is the community podcast. We haven't talked too much about, the bigger picture of like smaller private communities, but we're seeing them more and more.
Private communities are on the rise, baby.
Ooh.
And I think it's just natural with the evolution of social and how much it's grown and changed over the last few years. There's more and more creators. There's more and more businesses on there. There's just more and more posts and stuff to see, right?
Yeah.
And I think as that grows, it's only natural that private communities also grow because that's where you can kind of get more intentional with what's being shared or with what you're receiving if you're a participant in one. I personally love ours, but I do think it's a really cool way to bring that larger audience and kind of like limit the noise a little bit into a really intentional space.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it for years in its own way, right? Where people, I think that these are less popular, like free Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. Like people were doing like free Facebook groups, and that when we were starting an online business, that was all the rage.
That was all the rage.
Yeah,
people
everyone
loved those things.
Yeah, everyone had their own free Facebook group. I actually met someone recently, and they had like, I think it was something like 30,000 people in a free Facebook group, and I was like, that is absolutely nuts.
That is nuts.
Nuts. But, like, it works for them, right? Like, the thing that they sell makes sense over there. They really nurture that. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook other than in the social business club. But I think, one of the things we're seeing, too, is that the algorithms changed a lot on social. People are seeing less of their favorite creators. So if you are a content creator, you're a thought leader, an educator in some way, having one of these private groups is awesome because you're able to actually leverage your relationships that, might not even be that strong on social and be able to bring them off of the platforms into kind of a private community.
For sure. Like, remember the good old days when you just followed people on Instagram, you saw all their posts and the chronological feed, dare I say it?
I loved it, honestly, and it's funny, too, because the other day you posted something on an Instagram story, and I saw it I was on the social snippet page, and I saw it, but it didn't come up on my personal, and I was like, weird.
Very weird.
It needs to know that we're still best friends, so we need to send each other more memes, but it's interesting, like, even people who I, like, love to learn from or see, this is why, like, I really encourage when people are selling things, like, people do not see the same thing over and over and over again. So just know that, like, sometimes you'll post things and there's going to be still people who are going to buy from you, but they just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I find that even with the High Vibe Women stories, like, sometimes we'll post a few and I'm like, oh, when you just want to watch them back from, like, a participant view, like, as if you're watching them. And I'm like, they're not coming up on my feed, right? And so I think, and like that's like one of the most things I engage with the most. I obviously like all our posts. I'm commenting, right? So more and more, I think it's just harder to get in front of people's eyes. And then I think the other thing too with private communities is on social, a lot of it is like storytelling. A lot of it's entertainment. A lot of it now is like short clips. It's not a ton of like getting into the weeds on teaching or value add and that kind of stuff, right? Like I even find with our posts, we really try and do what we can to like teach people stuff and give them value and help them do their own social. But you can only do that so much with an Instagram post. Whereas when we bring them into the social business club, I'm like, I can help you. Like I can do everything to help you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can answer your specific questions. We can send you these like modules. Like we have so many things in there that just wouldn't be possible to share in a post on Instagram,
And there's also the element of like, social media is top of funnel. And, you don't want to be giving, like, you do want to be giving, like, so much value on social. We talk about this all the time. But there also comes a time where you need to make some money.
For sure.
Like, doing something,
For sure.
And so for us, like, really our money makers, our agency, that's really, like, where we've, made our millions.
We
is right. It's so funny that we're always so hesitant to talk about this. Even this weekend, we were like, there's this cool trend. Like, do we do it? But we don't want to be, like, too forthcoming with this information, but it's just so funny. But there comes a time where you also like need to be paid for your knowledge, or if you want to provide a deeper service, like you can't just coach people in the DMs 24/7 for free. So even like we're seeing with some of our clients, like they're moving into like Substacks and stuff like that. I had a very short stint with Substack where I tried to get one of our team members, Ben. I was like, Ben, we need a paid Substack. And he's like, I don't see the vision. I'm like, me neither anymore.
Many gentings.
Yeah. The other day I was like, Maria, do I do a mom Substack? And the answer is still no at this point. But what I'm going to say is that, people do still, there is an element of wanting to be paid, right? And so I think there's no problem with moving people into paid memberships, but I think you need to know what you're cultivating.
For sure. And I feel like with paid too, people can see it as a negative, like, oh, I need to pay for more information. But I think it's actually a positive on both ends because it's more of an equal energy exchange.
Yeah.
When you're a participant paying for something, you actually pay attention to it. You invest time in it. You're going to see more results because you have a skin in the game, right? Like you have a stake in it. And then from the creator perspective, it just feels way better to like, if you're getting paid for something, I love pouring into the Social Business Club members, right? When someone's asking for social coaching in my DMs, it doesn't feel as good. So I think that energy exchange is really important because it helps you add so much value to those people if this makes sense for you, right? So maybe that's what we can get into next is like, does this make sense for everyone?
Yeah, and I don't know that it does. I think this is something, too, for us. Like, we took a little while to launch our community. If it was up to Maria, this still would not be launched. She would still be thinking about the brick and mortar of it.
I have a great plan.
Yeah, I believe what happened was we went to James Wedmore's conference. We kind of were like, we need to do this. And I was like, we're going to launch this at High Vibe Women. And you were like, that's in like 8 weeks. And I was like, it's happening. We launch. We ride at dawn. And we worked out lots of kinks and good stuff, and it's been a really amazing ride, and we've had amazing people join it, and it's been such a good connector, right? But also asking yourself, like, do you need a community? Do you want a paid community? Is that who you would serve? Like, it's like I have the opposite problem with one-on-one coaching. I don't love one-on-one coaching, and so people ask all the time, like, would you coach one-on-one? Could I pay you for your time? It actually is just easier for me to jump on a call for half an hour for free, which again has its own stuff, than it is for me to, because I don't want to be invested in the results of the person. Like, that's why I don't one-on-one coach, is because I get too invested, and then people don't do what I say, and then I get mad. So it's all too much for me. But I love a community. I love the group coaching. I love seeing the people month to month. Like, this big number of people that we get to like really watch all of their wins. Like, that's my jam. That's your jam. You're a phenomenal coach. You do a great job showing up and like love teaching about social. And so that was a really big no-brainer for us because not everyone can afford our services, but we love serving people kind of at all levels.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that it has to make sense on both ends. It has to make sense for you as a founder and with your capacity, your time, and all of that stuff. Do you like doing it? Do you want it? It sounds super sexy to have 30,000 paid members in a Facebook group, but like, do you want all the responsibility that comes with that?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And then the other side is like, does it make sense for your business? And for us, I think it actually probably wouldn't make sense for our business in year one. And for ourselves, right? Because we were learning how to grow the agency. We were really focused on that. It took all of our time and energy. We were growing our team, learning lots of lessons, doing all that stuff, right? In that time, I don't think it actually would make sense for the business to have that community.
Yeah.
I also don't think we probably had the audience for it. Like, there's a lot that you have to think about. But now, as we've grown an awesome team. We've learned a lot from our discovery calls and clients and what people are looking for. And we actually created the community out of a need that we saw from our ideal audience and clients, right? Like, they were asking for, because our services are not for everybody for different reasons. So this was kind of like our solution for that. And it's best of both worlds because we also love to do it and we knew the work involved and we're excited about that piece too. So I think that's important to consider.
Yeah, and I think when you're thinking about communities too, and this is a bit rogue from our notes, but like, it's also about like thinking about like, do people want a community about what you want to rally people around? Recently, we coached somebody who had a pretty expensive community, and it like I was at a bit of a loss on why people would pay that much for that level of transformation. And even when we priced the Social Business Club, like, we don't like have a lot of offers where people get a ton of access to us coaching. I would say none other than that. Like,
yeah.
you know, but for us, what was really important was that it was so accessible for people that it was like a no-brainer. So we don't see a ton of cancellations. And we want people to, you know, if they don't want to pay for it, don't pay for it. Like, we don't want people to be feeling like they're
Trapped in there.
yeah, like they live inside the social business club. But we really wanted people who like would get the value. We wanted to give a lot of modules. You know, we're always like adding more and more. So you also need to ask yourself, like, will people buy what it is that I'm selling? Like, do people want to rally around whatever that topic is?
Yeah, totally. Such a good point. And does it make sense for them?
Yeah.
Like, another thing to note about our community is it didn't start as a community. It started as a course, and then we realized it should actually be a community. So, like, does it make sense for what you want your community to be to create that? Right?
Yeah.
I think it's just easy to get tempted with these things. Like, they sound so alluring, like sexy, of like, wow, I could just have this little Facebook group and I just pop in on a call and, like, you know, make all this money. And I think that's the wrong mentality.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing that's also missed there is, like, what you get from your community is what you give into it.
Yep.
So it does take a lot of work, like both on the logistical end, setting up, like, how are they onboarded? How do they receive the information? What's that process like? How do they cancel? What's their customer journey with all that? And then also, how are you showing up there? How are you listening to what they have to say? How are you constantly adapting what your strategy is and what your content is in the private community to make sure it's serving their needs? And it is, like, quite a bit of effort that we pour into it. So I think overall, like, it's a great tool. I love it. I love the depth of it. I love how we can pour in and it feels like an awesome energy exchange. I think it's a great way to continue to build that know, like, and trust with your community too. Like, those women that are in there are, like, just the best supporters. They, like, sing our praises in rooms we're not in, like, and we love them to death, like, the same way, right? So I think it's a great way to deepen those relationships and nurture them. And honestly, I love it. I think for us, is a great move. I agree that it's not for everybody. It definitely has to make sense on a lot of different levels. And I will say the last piece I think to keep in mind is it's not as easy as a lot of people make it seem to get members in your private community.
Yes.
You have to have an audience so when you're thinking about it, you have your audience who you're going to be promoting, let's say, your private community to. Of that audience, let's say a certain percentage, maybe half, which is generous, is, like, qualified to be or like an ideal client for that membership or private community. And then of that, how many are going to see your content, convert? It's the right time for them. It makes sense for them. They want to be a part of it. They can financially afford it. All of those things, right? So when looking at your numbers, I would encourage people to ensure you have a good audience size and it makes sense as an offering for them before diving into a private community.
And ask your audience if that's something that they would want, right? And what platform they would want it on and different things like that. We've seen that too, where we've been in communities where they've used certain platforms and the platforms are dead. And then that becomes the reflection of the experience, right? Because it's just the owner, like, constantly talking in it. And so that's something for us, like, we were once in a program that used Facebook, and it was popping. Like, I've never seen anything like this still to this day. And then we were in a community that used Mighty Networks, and this had nothing to do with Mighty, but no one was messaging in it. So really trying to be able to make sure that you're, like, asking, like, where will you show up? Like, will you show up? Like, you know, and really having an understanding. One of the things I was wondering if we could talk about too is, like, why do we think people are making this shift? Like, why we think people are moving towards communities? And I think a big piece of it is that, you know, we spend a lot of time on rented platforms, like platforms that we don't own. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You should be, even if it's not a membership, funneling people into something you own.
Agreed.
Moving people into email lists, getting people connected with you. You have no idea where any of these platforms could leave at any moment.
It's like when Instagram goes down for a day.
Oh my God.
You're like, bye to my 5,000 ideal audience members.
6,000.
Wee.
Wee. I actually remember the one time Instagram went down and you messaged me, you're like, so you think we're done? Or, like,
Should we wrap this thing up?
Like, what happens next? And I was like, we'll figure something else to do, I'm sure. So I'm positive about it. But yeah, there's a lot of monetization opportunities with a smaller audience too. Like, if you think about having, like, you know, taking your Instagram and then, you know, bring, say, 100 people into a community. Like, there's other things you can do, whether that be a paid newsletter. You could do brand deals with them. You could do affiliates. We do a lot of, like, affiliate marketing, even in very casual way, because we're pretty casual about it, with the Social Business Club, right? A lot of them use Flowdesk. They'll use like, some of our Amazon links, different
like
things
later,
like that.
like scheduling tools we suggest. And we did an affiliate episode, which I think kind of touches on a lot of that stuff. But I do think it's important that you actually really believe in the stuff you're sharing with your community too, because they're putting all their trust in you. And so when you're recommending something, if you're just recommending it for a paycheck, like that will come back to you, right? So like, I think there are so many opportunities to monetize within a smaller paid membership, but just making sure that those are authentic and things that you actually believe in and
totally
are good tools, right?
Yeah, that's why it's been so easy for us to talk about Flowdesk and stuff like that, because we actually use it
and love it.
Yeah, so it's easy. The other thing too is even like things like exclusive events, like that actually was the Social Business Club was actually like a huge driver for me and Jeanette's Boss Mode retreat. A lot of those women came from the Social Business Club, right?
Yeah.
We've had opportunities to pour into them. We've really shown up there. So when it came time to sell, that was a really warm audience, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I think that also touches on another reason why people, I feel like, are moving more towards private communities, and it's community. Right? The name of your podcast, the thing we talk about all the time. I think with social, we feel more connected than we ever have, but it's like a very surface level connection where we're not actually engaging. It's not actually a relationship. We're kind of like keeping up to date with what people are doing, but it's very, very surface level. And it's giving us this like false sense of connection and community. And when you join these deeper, like more private paid communities, it's a very different feeling. And this is why we pivoted the Social Business Club from a course to a membership, was because most of the value of what the people got from our course was the community aspect.
100%.
And they loved that, and they get so much from it. And of course, they learn from us. We do live coaching in there. We give them resources. We tell them how to do stuff. But what about the mindset piece? What about when they need cheering up? What about when some client says something crazy to them and they want to talk about how does that impact their social strategy? And we discussed that it actually doesn't, and everyone else in the group, rallies around them. And I've just been blown away, especially with our community, how much they support each other and how much they really get from each other. So I think that's a huge win for private communities.
Yeah. And as community builders, like, we have to be the people to encourage that. So like, we're the people who always encourage people to connect with each other. We'll make connections for people as well, saying like, hey, I know you're looking for this. This is someone that does that really well. Let's make a connection, opening our networks. And sometimes like when you join people's communities, we've definitely done this, you're actually paying for access to the leader, like, or the community builder. And not that I'm saying people have joined our community to have access to us, but I've certainly paid for communities where I'm like, oh, this is a great opportunity to connect with that person, and they're amazing, and who knows where it'll lead, and often it leads somewhere really good.
Yeah. And then on the other side of that, we've also been in rooms where we've skyrocketed our business exclusively because of the other peers in the room, not because of the leader, right? Like, we've been in programs, masterminds, different things where we actually got very little from whoever was teaching, what the presentations were about, for whatever reason. But we got so much from the people who were sitting in the chairs next to us or who were in that community with us. And that's why even on our live coaching calls in our membership, like I always say, I'm like, we encourage the rest of them to also give their advice too, right? So they're all writing in the chat, here's what I think you should do. And like, they're all pouring in, and they have so much wisdom, and so much great stuff comes from that. And I remember one of the girls said, these calls feel like therapy, because it's like they're in this community of like-minded business owners that are all working on the same thing together, and they're getting so much out of that part too. So it's not always, I think it's great also to have access to someone who you really resonate with and who can teach you that awesome educational part.
Yeah.
But then there's the other piece of like, who else is in the membership?
Yeah. No, I love that. Okay, last piece on this is just like monetization. So there's lots of different ways for you to monetize a membership. So that could be, you have a registration for the membership. That's what the Social Business Club is. You could also do a tiered membership where maybe, I've seen people do this where there's like a lower ticket and there's a higher ticket where people have even more access to you, or maybe there's like more coaching calls or guest speakers. That's a great opportunity for you to do exclusive content, ask me anythings, any coaching. And another thing we see people do, and we did this actually as a perk for a founding member. So if you have somebody who, like, we did this with the first 25 members, the cost was like, I don't know, $20 or something.
Yeah, it was 22.
$22, yeah.
And some people are still there.
Lots, actually. Actually, it was funny. The other day I asked you if someone was in it, and you were like, no, I don't think so. And then I got the notification that they paid, and I was like, oh, they're in it. They're in it. Yeah, yeah.
They're still hanging in.
Yeah, they're great. So, yeah, you can see that too, that it's like, can you get people in at a founding membership so they see the value? And I would always encourage you to like really do some price research around memberships. People are also getting tired of being online.
Mm-hmm.
So they are limiting the amount of memberships they're in, and they want the ones where they see the most value.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that too. Sometimes when we leave the Social Business Club, we ask them for feedback. We always ask, actually. And people are just like, hey, like, I'm overwhelmed with, like, how much I've got to do. And I don't have time to learn, or I don't have time for community right now. That's fine, right?
Yeah, totally.
So really just recognizing you don't want to make a membership like $4.97 a month, and then you're not serving those people at the level that they want. And there is also a thing, too, of, like, giving people too much in memberships. And I encourage you to, if you are starting a membership or you have one, to read the book Retention Point. Me and Maria listened to it once on a plane. I like forced her. We were sitting next to each other, and I was like, here's this earbud, and we will listen together from California. This is why she always hopes we get separated on planes. But
No rest for the wicked.
no rest for the wicked. I am the wicked. But yeah, Retention Point's an amazing book. But one of the things it teaches is about like not giving too much value in a membership, because then otherwise you're like
Overwhelming people.
Exactly, yeah. Abigail Pugh actually was just talking about this on a podcast about how, like, if you were to buy, I was telling Ben, like, if you were to buy, 10 chicken nuggets for $5, you'd be like, oh my goodness, like, what a deal. This is amazing. But if you were to buy 20 chicken nuggets for $10 and you weren't able to finish them, it would feel like a bad deal because you weren't able to get through all of them. It would feel wasteful. So it's the same kind of thing where I think if you're going to pay $10 for 20 chicken nuggets, you're doing fine, everybody. But for me, it's like also when we talk about the Social Business Club, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot to learn about social. We're always wanting to add more and more. But we always tell people to just take it in bite-sized pieces, because otherwise it can feel really overwhelming.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think that's a huge lesson at the beginning. I was like, let's give them everything. Like, let's give them a weekly call and this and that. And it ends up being more work for us. And then they're super overwhelmed. It's way too much information. They can't keep up with it. They feel like they're behind if they don't come to the calls. Like, it leads to this whole slew of things. And we've all been in those programs or signed up for things where you get in there and you're like, immediately, there's way too much information.
We are in one right now. We were added kind of last minute to something. I haven't done anything.
I wasn't going to name names, but I think we're actually in two I can think of that are like this.
Oh, no. I need to know the second one later.
Where it's just so much that, like, where do you even start, right?
Yeah.
So I think a piece of this is simplifying things and making it efficient for your members, and thinking of like, this goes back to pricing too, and then we can wrap this up, but thinking about how much time do they have? Like, our ideal client for the Social Business Club is like a really busy entrepreneur who's like wearing all the hats in their business. They don't have time to get on a call 3 times a week and listen to us talk about social.
Yeah.
And also, when we were designing it for people who a lot of the time said that they couldn't afford our monthly retainer services. So we needed to price it in a way that reflects that, right? And I think you can go different ways with the pricing, right? Like, if you're appealing to a more luxury type client, you want to go super high end on the pricing, maybe it's like a smaller, more exclusive container.
Yeah.
Or maybe you go the other way where it's super reasonably priced, but you want to kind of scale it on mass, and then thinking about what that looks like.
Yeah.
I think it's important to put a lot of intention behind a private community, but I think they make sense for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, Mara, I think we spilled the beans on private communities, whether you should have one. I think it's, in a way, I'm like, the more the merrier, join a community, create a community, do the thing, but just make sure you do it with intention. I think communities are not meant to be made and run by everyone. But I love the communities we run.
Me too.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about the Social Business Club?
Yeah, so you heard a bit about it in the episode, but we love it so much. It's super fun. So we do 2 live coaching calls a month where it's just kind of like an Ask Us Anything, work through whatever challenges you're working on. And then weekly, we give you trending audio, reel templates, mindset tips, which are awesome, a new addition and one of my favorites. And then lots of other good resources in there. So we're always adding additional resources to the portal. There's one key thing I'm missing. Oh, it's the educational modules. We also, this is what used to be our course, which is now just living in the portal of the Social Business Club. So they're just videos you can watch anytime that walk you through everything from how to figure out who your ideal client is to how to create content pillars and everything in between for your social strategy. So we love it in there. Oh, there's also an exclusive Facebook group. where members ask questions, our team's in there answering. So it's really for the busy entrepreneur who's wearing all the hats, trying to do their own social and trying to find a way to make it easier, sustainable, and do it in a community of people who is also doing the same.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah, it's always so cool to see what people, one, what they're learning, but two, like what people bring to it as well and all the different things people are trying. And yeah, the people in there are amazing. So yeah, hope to see you in there. You can use the code podcast for your first month for $1. Maria and I love being in there, so we'd love to see you. And Mara, thanks so much. This was so fun.
Thanks for having me.